Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Ultimate Comics Podcast. My name is Nabeel Gaber, and I am one of your hosts.
And I am Josh, the other host.
And this is the podcast where we talk about Ultimate Marvel, an imprint of Marvel Comics that began in the year 2000, which was meant to modernize and reimagine Marvel and its characters for the 21st century. So we're talking Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Fantastic Four, the Ultimates, Ultimate X-Men, all that fun stuff.
A couple original characters, too, at a few points.
Yeah. Does Miles Morales ring a bell? Because he was created there. Yeah, it was very much its own universe and its own thing. And it lasted for a while until it finally ended in 2015. But it's been brought back recently in a new form, of course. But yeah, Josh and I have been going back to the original Ultimate Universe and just talking about a handful of issues every episode. And this week we're back with our second part of this Hobgoblin story arc in Ultimate Spider-Man. We thought there was just so much material to cover that we just had to split it up into two episodes so we could fully do it justice. And so we didn't make like a 2 hour long episode or something. So yeah, Josh, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's Batman Day for those who are listening in the future.
Yes, we are recording on Batman Day. By the time this episode comes out, it will have been like 2 weeks later. But hey, today we're recording on Batman Day, talking about Spider-Man. So
Yeah.
we clearly knew what we were doing, as you can tell. We did a great job coordinating.
Especially if you listen to the last dozen episodes, it always ends with us going, and next week we'll review Ultimate Fantastic Four, and the next week we review like the Superman movie, so
Yeah, we very much plan ahead, as you
yeah.
can tell. We know what
We
we're doing. We're professionals.
we do have a script and a reading list. That being said, even the reading list has some stuff that goes like this may or may not be canon. Because we actually did everything that was not considered canon. We actually have so far watched and read and put up for you guys. So
Oh, what? You mean like Ultimate Iron Man?
Ultimate Iron
Ultimate
Man,
Adventures?
the Owl guy, or the Hawk Owl or whatever, and
Yeah.
Marvel Zombies. Marvel Zombies was pretty fun.
Marvel Zombies was amazing. Yeah, I love
Yeah,
Marvel Zombies.
yeah.
But yes, we are talking about the Ultimate Universe, and I think we should just dive right into it because I think people have been waiting to hear what we have to say about the final issues in this arc.
Yeah,
So, for those of you who need a refresher, issue 75 of Ultimate Spider Man ended on a bit of a cliffhanger where Harry Osborn, Peter Parker's former best friend, transforms in front of Spider Man's eyes into this new version of the Goblin because it's revealed in a twist that Harry was there when his father Norman was transformed into the Green Goblin in that fateful lab accident. So issue 76 opens with Harry going full Hobgoblin. He turns into this giant orange, like flaming goblin creature, which is very different than the Hobgoblin in the main Marvel universe, the original Hobgoblin. This does deviate a lot from the original, but for the purpose of like the Ultimate Universe and the story they're telling, it makes sense.
Hobgoblin in the animated series, which I watched as a kid. I have actually read very few Hobgoblin comics as a fan. I've read very few of them, but as a kid, the Hobgoblin, Mark Hamill's Hobgoblin, was my favorite animated Spider-Man villain for
Mm.
the longest time.
I mean, Mark Hamill is just incredible. All
Oh
the
yeah,
voice work he does in general is so good. I think, his Joker is iconic. I
yeah.
think it's amazing how he kind of got a second life in his career after being Luke Skywalker, obviously in Star Wars, one of the most successful film franchises of all time. I think it's amazing how he was able to transform into characters like the Joker and the Hobgoblin and so many other voice roles. But yeah, his Hobgoblin was great. I mean, I couldn't help but hear his Joker, but he did a great job. And like he plays the more traditional Hobgoblin because this was in the 90s before
Yeah.
Ultimate Marvel, and the Hobgoblin in the main universe is very much, he's more of this crafty super criminal who's constantly trying to take over the crime syndicate in the New York scene. He's competing with people like the Kingpin. He has the same weaponry and the same basic gadgets as the Green Goblin, but I feel like he's a little more cunning and craftier because the Green Goblin is more unhinged and insane and obsessed with Spider-Man and making his life miserable. I think the Hobgoblin is more about greed and starting a criminal empire. And for so long at Marvel, it was unknown who the real Hobgoblin was. Like, they kept playing hot potato for so long. I feel like Marvel editorial and the writers in the Spider-Man office for so long in like the 80s going into the 90s had no idea who the real Hobgoblin was. And like everyone was so confused. They're like, who is it? Is it Ned Leeds? Is it Flash Thompson? I think eventually, is it, who was the Jack-o'-lantern, his identity? It turned out to be Roderick Kingsley, who is the real mastermind behind it all. And there's a whole bunch of confusing, convoluted retcons. And I think Roger Stern eventually cleared it up because he was the one who created the Hobgoblin. And it was a whole thing. But he's very different in the original comics than he is here, where he is basically just Harry Osborn, who in the original comics becomes the second Green Goblin after his father dies.
Hobgoblin, I feel very much, is like a gangster who just happens upon all the special gear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And talking of Mark Hamill, it's funny because you and I were talking about that show yesterday, and Mark Hamill is the main bad guy in that show. His Ozai the Fire Lord in that show. I can't think of the name right now, but
what do you mean you can't? Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Yes,
I thought you were intentionally not saying the name because you had a problem with Avatar or something.
I don't have a problem. I love that show, Avatar. But Mark Hamill is Ozai, the Fire Lord, in that show. So
that's right, yeah.
Yeah, he's in a lot of stuff. But I find this one interesting that they made him the Hobgoblin, because also, he never goes by Hobgoblin so far, and I don't think he ever will.
Yeah, I don't think they call him Hobgoblin at any point in this arc, yeah.
And this, like, a weird thing is that, like, I feel whenever you get rid of the Green Goblin, like, you beat him, he dies, he's in jail, whatever, and there's another villain that becomes a goblin, unless you're specifically called the Hobgoblin, people just assume you're the Hobgoblin. Growing up, everyone I knew thought James Franco's New Goblin was Hobgoblin. Everyone I knew growing up
they thought Harry in Spider-Man 3 was the Hobgoblin.
Yeah, because everyone knows, oh, there's another goblin. It can't be the Green Goblin. There's already is a Green Goblin. He's the Hobgoblin. And even
he's
here,
the New Goblin.
Yeah, but like if they never call him New Goblin in the toys, you could think of him as Hobgoblin. He has a different costume. There's yellow and orange on his costume.
That's a bit of a stretch. It's more green too. I feel like I would just call him Green Goblin #2 because that's how it happens in the original comics. Yeah. Like Norman Osborn dies and then Harry snaps and becomes the new Green Goblin when he discovers his father was the Goblin and all his gadgets and stuff. And then later the Hobgoblin is created, but that's a separate thing.
Yeah. But even in this one, he's just called, like, Harry or Goblin, never Hobgoblin. And we don't know he's Hobgoblin, except for the fact the writers just say, enter the Hobgoblin.
Yeah, the actual story arc is just called Hobgoblin. Yeah, and that's the only way you know. Yeah.
I love the Hobgoblin in the comics and the shows and the movies because his costume is just so different than Green Goblin, but it's still terrifying. I don't know. I don't like the Green Goblin's elf costume. Hobgoblin looks like genuinely terrifying, in my opinion.
I feel like it's the same costume, though, just a different color scheme.
No, he has, like, the hood. He doesn't look like an evil elf. He looks like a guy in a hood.
Almost like the Green Goblin. It's really just purple and green versus blue and orange. Like, that's the whole...
the Green Goblin has, like, the evil elf hat, while Hobgoblin has a hood.
And huge difference.
Yeah, it's like an orange hood, and also you don't see his legs like a swimsuit, like a fish person. He's wearing pants.
You're such a prude. You don't like it when they show skin.
I don't like it when they show skin, especially if it's a dude. And especially because I also know...
Wait, why especially if it's a dude?
That's not the point. The father thing is, you also know, like, he's wearing pants underneath. I'm just confused, like, you're showing off skin.
You just want the women to show skin.
No, I never said that.
You misogynist.
Look, no, look. If you're looking at the Green Goblin, he's like nude, but underneath is more pants. No, just have like pants, and underneath is your regular pants. You don't need to have like no pants and underneath are pants. That's just confusing to me. No, go with the Hobgoblin, be the evil goblin thing with the hood, and pants. That's just my thing.
I think we've gone far enough. I'm going to reel Josh in at this point. Let's get back to the story. So yeah, Harry has transformed into the Hobgoblin and Peter is in shock, but he's got no choice but to defend himself because the goblin's attacking. He's like throwing furniture and stuff. And I think it's cool because there's, once again, as usual, you get Spider-Man's internal monologue during this whole fight. So they're battling it out. And Peter's just thinking, he can't help but think about Norman Osborn and about how Norman Osborn is the cause of all this, just like he's the cause of most of the pain and misery of Ultimate Spider-Man in this universe. He's just thinking about how Norman Osborn is like the worst human being alive, and he did this to his own son. And I love this story arc too, because poor Harry is just being controlled by his dad, even when his dad has no physical presence in this entire story. He is not around the entire time. Norman Osborn does not appear once, but you can feel his presence nonetheless, and you can feel his pull and his control over Harry. And Peter's right. Poor Harry, because his dad is a monster in every sense of the word, and really warped him into this. If it wasn't for this whole goblin experiment and Harry being there, none of this would have happened. Peter doesn't want to fight Harry at all, but like he knows that, you know, people are going to die if he doesn't stop him, because Harry's going on a rampage as this hobgoblin. And they take this fight out into the city, like, because Harry like throws Peter out the window, like, and he's like lands on the freeway in the middle of like the intersection there. It's a really tough battle. I think one of the most interesting battles are the ones where like Spider-Man feels like he can't actually fight the villain, or he can't go all out because he knows deep down, it's like the Lizard, right? Where he knows deep down that Kurt Connors is a good man and he just wants to help him. It's the same idea. It's even harder here because Harry is his friend, and he's like, all right, he's my friend, he's not a monster, I'm here to help him, I'm not here to fight him. I need to stop him, but I can't go too hard. And so I really like that, because it shows a lot of compassion about Spider-Man as a character. He cares about people at the end of the day and saving lives, even when they're the quote-unquote villains in this case.
That's what I find really interesting, too. In, like, 616, most of the heroes are generally less dickish, and they will try to be compassionate, or at the very least reasonable. And here, if it was the Ultimates, they just would have just wiped out the city. And I think Spider-Man says, like, Harry, you gotta listen to me. The Ultimates are gonna be sent in. They're just gonna end up killing you.
Yeah, he's like, listen, you gotta stop. Or like the Ultimates and S.H.I.E.L.D. are gonna come in and they're gonna fucking murder you, man.
Yeah,
like, they have no mercy. They don't care who you are.
You know, the thing I respect about S.H.I.E.L.D., for all their faults, is that, look, if they see Harry, they're going to kill Harry, but they're generally not going to destroy anything else. With the Ultimates, they're just going to level most of New York City.
Yeah, if this was Mark Millar writing this, Harry would be fucking toast.
Harry in, like, whatever neighborhood he's in, is going to be gone.
Yeah, it would just be an all-out blockbuster, town leveling, building smashing brawl.
It probably wouldn't even be worth it. It's like, I bet after the Ultimates take out Harry, if you look at a map of New York City, there's just a hole where Harry was.
Yeah.
They just destroyed it.
This would be their fight with the Hulk all over again. Oh, yeah.
But I think it says a lot that, except maybe with the Fantastic Four and sometimes the X-Men, in this universe, it's like, if there's a supervillain, the government, which includes the Ultimate, is just going to wipe out an area just to stop them. And it says, like, Spider-Man's like this in 616, but the other heroes aren't going to destroy the town to save the rest of the town, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what's cool about Spider-Man. Like, he's thinking about the people specifically and less about we need to neutralize this threat, or thinking about it in more clinical or strategic terms. He is thinking with his heart a little bit more, as well as his brain. He has smart solutions to things, but he's mostly caring about saving lives.
Yeah. Because he's a good person. He's a good person with powers, as opposed to someone who just has powers and trying to figure it out. In a way that, like, he is figuring it out, but, like, his morality is already mostly set in stone, is my take.
Yeah, no, totally. Especially after the whole Uncle Ben incident. After that, his mind's made up. He's never going to let anything bad happen to anyone again, if he can help it.
Yeah.
Then back at school, the teacher is fed up with the class, and he notices that Peter and MJ are gone, and he's like, has anyone seen them? And he's like, well, wherever they are, I hope it's worth the detention for them. And it sounds like the way he's talking, I'm sure he thinks that they're off making out somewhere behind the bleachers or something. That's what this teacher sounds like. He's like, oh, these two.
I bet he thinks, like, oh, they snuck off class to go see a movie, or
go to the soda shop, get a milkshake.
Or like whatever them kids do nowadays, looking for them Pokemon in the woods.
Yeah, you know, going out and buying some Twist records, as J. Jonah Jameson once said.
I'll be honest, I know I lived through that era. I do not remember what kids did in the 90s and early 2000s.
I mean, you know, they went to the skateboard park, you know, wore their low-rise jeans and, you know, sat next to their boom boxes and listened to hip-hop. I don't know. I was too young. This is just what I saw on TV or in movies.
Same. I with everything in skate parks exist now, but
I mean, yeah, of course they still exist.
Yeah,
It's
they're
not
built
like
by the government now.
they weren't like made obsolete.
Yeah, they're built by the government now, meaning those skate kids grew up and are now using our taxpayer money to indulge in the same thing.
Hell yeah, brother. That's probably the least offensive thing the government is doing right now.
Oh, that's sad.
Anyways, yeah, so we cut back to Spider-Man and the Goblin fighting, and Peter's really trying to get through to Harry, but
Mhm.
his words are being drowned out because of the voice of Mr. Shaw, the
Yeah.
guy who was working for Norman Osborn. It's like overriding Peter's words and telling him to fight him and all this stuff, and it's really just getting to Harry. And Peter is like thinking to himself, a good question, really. How did Nick Fury and Shield let Harry out of like his rehabilitation in this condition? They let him out when he could have easily transformed into a goblin like this. I'm like, yeah, that is weird. Like, come on, guys, get it together, Shield.
To be fair, Nick Fury says, "I thought we checked for it too," and later, but also
Yeah.
kind of interesting. Like Norman is just an eviler version of Norman as Green Goblin. Hobgoblin is just this insane Hulk-esque monster just destroying everything in his path.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's how the Green Goblin originally was in like Ultimate Marvel. Like in the first story arc, I think the Green Goblin was just like a hulking monster with very little intelligence, and he could only say like Parker and Parker, And I think
Yeah.
over time throughout Ultimate Spider-Man, the Green Goblin gets smarter and smarter. But yeah, the Hobgoblin is way less intelligent. And also, I feel like it is a reflection of Harry's mental state even before he transformed, where he's very unstable, you can tell, and he even has these voices talking to him, and he's clearly being manipulated by his own mind, it feels like, by forces
Mhm.
outside of his control.
Yeah.
So it's a very clear reflection of the state Harry was in, I think, even before he transformed.
Yeah. Unfortunately for Peter, the giant hulking Hobgoblin finds MJ out in the city.
Yeah,
And he
because
goes for her.
she's out in the city and she emerges from the subway and just happens to stumble upon Spider-Man and the Goblin fighting. Yeah,
Probably
Harry like immediately charges towards her, and luckily Peter stops him.
it's kind of like the baser animal instincts at this point. He sees MJ and he goes like, "I'm mad at her. I'm after her sometimes, so I'm gonna go for her
Yeah.
without knowing why." And Peter's pissed, and MJ tells her after rescuing her, like, "You gotta go home now." See
Yeah,
where?
like he
Yeah,
swings MJ to safety and he's like, "You gotta go. Why did you come?" And she's like, "But I was here to see Harry." And he was like, "You need to hide. Harry is the monster. You don't understand." She doesn't understand at first that Harry is the goblin right there.
yeah. And also, I'm thinking like, why were you trying to see Harry? Another rebound?
Yeah. I'm sure she was just trying to talk things out. Her intentions were good, but
Uh huh.
unfortunately misplaced because he turned into a giant orange goblin.
Yeah. And to be fair, this isn't Harry's fault. Like,
No,
yeah,
it's not. But she needs to get the fuck away from him right now, or else she's
yeah,
gonna die. She gets to safety, and then Peter tackles the goblin off the roof and starts brutally beating him. And there's like panels upon panels of him just like hitting Harry over and over and over again, and like trying to get him to like stay down. And then finally, the issue ends with Harry asking Spider-Man to kill him.
yeah.
It's a very intense ending, and it just cuts like it's this close up of Spider-Man's face and his fist in the air, and he's like paused for a moment because it seems like he's actually like considering it. He's like, oh shit, he wants me to kill him. What should I do? How am I going to solve this problem?
It's also, I think, also reveals something about Harry, which not only is it sad, but he realizes, I don't want to be this monster. I don't want to be this threat to humanity. I'd rather die.
Yeah.
And that's it's both tragic, but also says something about this thing with the Hobgoblin that he has. He's not Norman, who once he gets better goes like, I gotta get me some more of this Goblin stuff
Yeah.
because it's cool being this green, horny. Not in terms of that way, but like he has like horns.
Yeah.
And warty
Not like
monster.
sexually horny, but like
That's
literally has horns.
Yes, like I don't want to be a green monster, and Harry kind of goes, I don't want to be this threat. I'd rather just die and not hurt people.
Which is really sad, but
Yeah.
also speaks to he's not a bad person. He's just been in these really bad conditions and circumstances, especially with his father and especially with being in the same accident as his dad and being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
And now just out of control. He doesn't know how to stop it, so he would rather just die and end it, which is so sad.
Yeah. The thing with Harry, I feel, is that he's just a normal guy who got placed in extraordinary circumstances and just couldn't deal with it, which isn't wrong because it's most of us. And Peter is a extraordinary guy who was placed in, I'm like making this up as like a place in a normal situation, and was elevated to the place where he could be at his best, while Harry was elevated to a place where he's at his worst.
Yeah, I mean, Harry had a lot of the privileges, financially especially, that Peter didn't have, but Peter also had better family circumstances and a better home life than Harry had because Peter had Aunt May and Uncle Ben. Harry, had a pretty neglectful father who like didn't really care too much about him. His mom was barely around too. In the main universe too, his mom has been dead for years, and I think it's later retcon she was alive but left for some reason. So his parents weren't really there for him the way that Peter's aunt and uncle, who are essentially his parents, were there for him. Even though he had obviously much more money and more privilege and status that Peter had, he didn't have that grounding core to him and that foundation that Peter had. And so when they both got power, in this case, you kind of see the circumstances, and it sucks because he didn't have the gift of intelligence that Peter has. Peter's just naturally a gifted science student and super smart, and Harry's just a regular dude, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But like, he kind of got shafted for it because now his dad's obsessed with this guy.
It's Norman sees himself in Peter at a superficial level, is my take. Because he sees Peter as this driven guy who has the same inclinations and gifts as him. However, he doesn't notice, and Harry is not. Harry's very normal. Harry's kind of underachieving. But he doesn't realize that Peter, character-wise, maybe not in terms of his abilities, but character-wise, is very different from Norman. And he can't recognize. He fails to recognize that. I feel Harry is actually more ambitious oftentimes than Peter. It's just that Peter is just better at the stuff that Norman likes or values in a person. Which is also funny because when Peter actually gets a hold of organizations, he kind of runs them to the ground. So it's actually not very good at business.
Does Parker Industries ring a bell?
I think that's not the only one, is it? Doesn't he like run a couple stuff into the ground throughout the different comics?
Well, Parker Industries was a different story. To be fair, that was a sacrifice he made to stop it from getting into Hydra's hands. Anyways, that's another story.
Yeah.
But yes, Harry and Peter both had pretty divergent paths from each other, so you can see how they ended up the way they did. And they're both good people, but the circumstances, the cards they were dealt were very different.
Yeah.
Issue 77 opens with Harry still begging Peter to kill him, but Peter is like, no, what am I doing? I'm not going to kill you. I want to help you, Harry. And then the voice in Harry's head is like coming after him again, being like, see, he won't do it. He doesn't have it in you. Like, you have to find your father. And so Peter's trying to help Harry and like reaches out for Harry, and like Harry grabs his hand. But of course, it's the classic hero extends his hand, villain grabs his hand, and he tosses Spider-Man far away. Yeah. So it's the classic move of the hero reaching out and it backfiring. But yeah, the voices are still not going away for Harry. He's still being influenced by Mr. Shaw. Then like the cops arrive, the NYPD, and they start shooting at the goblin. And of course nothing happens. Regular bullets aren't going to do anything to him.
Yeah.
But it's really dark because then Harry's like causing more destruction and like tossing stuff around because he's trying to get someone to kill him. Anyone to kill him at this point. Even the cops to kill him. It's super sad and super dark, this whole thing, because he wants it to end. He needs it over because he doesn't see another way out of this.
Kind of reminds me of all those suicide by cop ideas that some people unfortunately have. The problem with this is that like, and I don't blame Harry, but like the way he's choosing to go out if he must be killed is a little not just dark because he's suicidal. He has all these mental issues. I think generally in comics he has drug problems, and I think in other media they can't get away from it because they always say like he's addicted to the Goblin formula or something.
Yeah.
But his way of going out is also harmful because he's causing destruction to the city. He's probably going to end up killing a few people. And Spider-Man was like, hey, man, I know we said this earlier, but like, it's like, you got to stop this. S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to come. They're going to kill you, or they'll bring in the Ultimates and they'll kill you.
Yeah. And speaking of, then we cut to the Triskelion, the headquarters of S.H.I.E.L.D., where Nick Fury's being interviewed by a TV news reporter who is actually asking him about the same... A few episodes we talked about escalation in the universe that they mentioned in Ultimate Fantastic Four that Reed Richards brought up about like the rise in like superhumans in general, but also now the reporter's like, well, since the Ultimate shows showed up, we've seen a huge exponential rise in like superhumans in general, including superhuman threats and villains. And Nick Fury's like, that's bogus, that's ridiculous. Because like, yeah, I can see the idea of just the rise in superhumans in general, but like just to say like, oh, because heroes show up, then that means villains show up. I'm like, oh, well, that's a shallow reading. Yeah, he's got a point.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a talking Batman since it's Batman Day. Isn't that like the big thing? Is that like, oh, the instant Batman showed up, other supervillains showed up, and there's always that debate in comics if one
Yeah,
shows up.
yeah, and like it's hard to tell exactly which came first. It's like a chicken or egg scenario.
Yeah,
My favorite episode, or one of my favorite episodes of Batman the Animated Series, for example, is like The Trial,
yeah,
which is where Batman gets put on trial by his villains for creating all of them. And then eventually the DA at the time in the show, over time, after interviewing all the villains, discovers that actually they were all screwed up people and were gonna be screwed up people and were going to become this whether or not Batman existed. Batman's presence may have been a catalyst for them becoming costumed and colorful and everything, but they had so many issues to begin with.
yeah.
And she said at the end, like, hey, he didn't create you, you created him. You create a need for Batman to exist, people like you and criminals like you. So
I think realistically, if someone with powers comes along, you're probably going to see more people with powers. I don't know if like it'll become hero versus villain realistically. It's my take. Like, I don't know. If you get laser eyes, most people will never have use that power ever again.
Yeah.
This is my take. Unless you're fighting someone, laser eyes. Why would you have laser eyes? You giving people
yeah,
laser
there's no real to cook stuff. Maybe if they're
Maybe.
if they're heat based. Cyclops' powers are not, though, and a lot of people get testy about that. So to clarify, I'm not saying that Cyclops has laser heat vision or whatever.
He should.
I know that optic glasses.
Having a portal face is better.
I like the punch beams idea. That's just what I like about his optic blast. They're concussive blasts, so they're like basically punching you in the face.
I don't like the idea of them being portals to another universe. So
well, we can forget about that.
Yeah.
Anyways, Nick Fury is being interviewed, but then he's interrupted because the story of Spider-Man versus the Hobgoblin arrives on the news. And so it's like all hands on deck. Everyone's like at full attention because they're like, oh shit, it's going down. But their agent in the field is down because they try contacting him and he might be dead. Who knows? Yeah. And then they're like, all right, time to get the Hulkbuster unit together to stop Harry.
Yeah, because the whole Green Goblin in this universe is just like basically the Hulk.
Yeah, so that's what they need. That's like a natural response. They're like, okay, it's basically the same thing, so we may as well like apply this to him. And Fury is pissed off that no one detected the serum, the Goblin serum, in Harry's blood. He's like, how did we not catch this? What's wrong with you guys? Like, come on. I'm like, yeah. The
thing with Spider-Man villains, I feel, in 616 is they're kind of like most Flash villains in that they're threats, but they're like street threats. They're like a threat to a cop or a city.
Yeah.
And here, because of how they're a bit more souped up.
Definitely.
Like, you gotta bring in S.H.I.E.L.D., you gotta bring in the Hulkbusters, just take out Spider-Man villains.
It also connects the universe a bit more because I feel like there are scenarios a lot of the times in comics and comic book related media where something is happening and it's like a shared universe. And you're like, well, why didn't S.H.I.E.L.D. show up? Why didn't the Avengers show up? Why didn't this person or that person appear? Because they exist in this universe. Yeah. So it's nice that in Ultimate Spider-Man, when something like this happens in the middle of New York City, and it's such a big deal, of course S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to be like, all right, stop everything. We got to get in on this. Of course they're going to take action and show up.
I also feel there's like a different take. It's the reason like why Spider-Man in the Ultimate's later so celebrated is because in the Ultimate universe, this kid who's really actually depowered compared to the 616 counterpart is able to beat these guys while like the Avengers have trouble with them sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
He's like small time hero, but he actually does pack quite a bit of power with him too.
Yeah, because Iron Man and Thor have trouble like fighting Green Goblin sometimes.
Yeah, so like it's nice to see he's got potential. This kid's going places.
Yeah.
He could be one of the greats one day. So the Hulkbusters show up to fight the Goblin, and Peter like gets between them because he knows they're trying to kill him, and he even tries to beat some sense into Harry, and he's like, "Come on, get it together. They're trying to kill you. Can you be reasonable here? Let me help you." Just kind of like me with Josh is what I was thinking when I read this. So
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. I feel like the sense that because you're laughing so hard, it gives me the sense that you do know what I'm talking about.
Well, look, we have not physically seen each other in 5-ish years.
Yeah.
So, but it did give me a chuckle when I read that on the screen.
Yeah. Sometimes I just gotta pull you out of the hole that you dig for yourself, you know?
Yeah. especially because I dug holes for a living for a while.
I can't physically do that, but metaphorically, yes.
You could definitely dig a hole. It's not that hard.
Well, I can't like physically pull you out of a hole. Anyways,
Okay.
then Harry tosses Peter away, and the Hulkbusters start open firing on Harry. And seemingly they kill him because he's down and he like reverts back into just regular Harry Osborn. He's not the Goblin anymore, but he's seemingly just dead. The battle worn Spider Man is pissed off and he's screaming at Nick Fury, who's there, and he's like, Why? Why did any of this happen? And Fury kind of just brushes him off and ignores him and is just like talking to his agents and talking about cleanup and focusing on this and that.
Yeah.
And Peter's even more pissed.
He kind of whacks Fury, doesn't he?
He punches the eye patch off of Nick Fury. Spider-Man punches him so hard his eye patch comes off. And I just read this and I was like, this would never happen in the MCU. Like, guys, I love Tom Holland's Spider-Man and I love those movies. Of course, I have nitpicks, as any hardcore fan will do. And maybe that's just me being whiny and annoying because Spider-Man's my favorite. I'm always going to have some minor issues. But like, yeah, Tom Holland's Spider-Man could never. In like Far From Home, the Skrull posing as Nick Fury was practically making Peter cry because he was yelling at him so much in this one scene in Far From. And so I'm like, that Spider-Man would not punch Nick Fury in the face the way this one would.
I feel No Way Home, Tom Holland definitely would have punched Nick Fury if he could.
Yeah. And this is what I love about the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies in the MCU. Like, the whole trilogy feels like one big origin story to see him become the Spider-Man that we know and love from the comics and from most versions in other media. That's when I did gain an appreciation for that version of the character, was when I saw No Way Home and I was like, oh, I get it now. This makes sense.
I don't think that was planned. I think that kind of accidentally, this might take it, accidentally lined
it
up.
Probably wasn't the original plan, but I'm glad it turned out that way. It tied everything up in a neat little bow. And that's why I'm so excited for the new movie, Brand New Day.
I do feel Tom Holland is a very good Peter Parker and Spider-Man. He is the first Spider-Man in my lifetime that actually looked like he went to he's from an American high school, is my take.
Oh, absolutely. And he does such a good job.
As a kid, as a short little chubby kid, I always was like, man, is high school just gonna be full of like really tall people? Because I watch Spider-Man movies and everyone's like super 30 looking, and I never realized that like it turns out like
it was the early 2000s. High schoolers were always portrayed by like people in their late 20s, early 30s, and you're like, that's not how it's. So I feel like in recent years they've moved towards like casting people who are more in their like late teens, maybe, or like early 20s.
But like some of them just look, or like over 30 look like they're young kids, which isn't really interesting. That's true. That being said, the last time I went to a bar, I did get carded, so who knows? Maybe I could still do it.
Yeah, I've had people assume I was younger than I was, which is very flattering, but not that I'm old or decrepit or anything.
When I got my first apartment out of college, second apartment out of college, I remember I lived near a high school and I got caught by the cops because they thought I was playing hooky.
That's hilarious.
It was not funny at the time. Now it's kind of funny. But
yeah,
at
in
the time,
hindsight.
I was like, no, man, don't take me to the high school. You don't get it. I'm in my mid-20s. I'm almost 25.
I don't belong there.
I don't belong there. You can't take me back. I graduated college, you dick.
I can't go back. Don't send me back.
I didn't graduate college just to go back to high school.
Yeah, imagine a whole episode of like this sitcom where Josh gets sent back to high school in his mid-20s.
It's like, I have a bachelor's. You can't do this to me.
Oh, that's a nightmare fuel. Yeah, that's like going to prison.
I'm sure I've had that nightmare. I definitely have had that nightmare going back to high school.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But that's just like the closest it happened to real life. I was like, you don't get it, man.
Anyways, back to the story. After Spider-Man punches Fury, then the Hulkbusters tase Spider-Man, but luckily Fury tells them all to stand down. And he's actually pretty calm and reasonable for a guy who just got knocked on his ass by Spider-Man. He just tells Peter to go home and just shake this off and don't worry about this right now.
Because he knows he's a kid.
Yeah, so he's giving him leeway. He's like, you're a kid, just go home, man. But then after Peter swings away, it's revealed Harry is alive, actually. And Fury like gives his agents some tasks, like solving the Oz formula so they can actually cure Harry.
He also goes like, Norman figured it out. He's not that smart. But I also feel he's not interested in just curing Harry. He's interested in using it for his own guys,
Yeah.
because he goes like, I'm kind of interested now. This 15-year-old kid, just survived a couple Hulkbusters and getting the shit beaten out of him by the cops and Spider-Man. I kind of
Yeah.
want to know this formula.
He's up to some shady shit.
Yeah.
As they usually are in the Ultimate Universe. Fury also says that he wants the team to remove Peter's powers, which is Peter's going to be in trouble pretty soon. That's bad. And so Peter arrives at Mary Jane's porch and they talk and check in to make sure they're okay, but they get into this big fight because Peter is still pissed that MJ did not listen to him, did not avoid Harry, says he can't have her in his life. She's going to die because she won't listen to him. She's going to get herself in trouble. And I can see where he's coming from again. But yeah, he is coming off a bit controlling. If you didn't know the context for this conversation, you'd be like, this is kind of weird and controlling. But I understand his point. But MJ's super apologetic and they share a hug and everything. And you think everything's going to be okay for a moment because they're hugging and they're crying and MJ's kind of smiling and she's happy because it seems like everything's fine. But he takes his arms off of her, pushes her away, and then basically is like, it's over, and runs off. And it's over again. I think this is at least the second time that they've broken up in this series so far. And I don't think it's going to be the last.
It's definitely not the last. MJ breaks up with Peter the last time for the same reason. Now Peter breaks up with her this time for the same reason. And it's not unrealistic. That being said, 3 breakups in 9 months for us, it's like we've been reading this over and over again. Like it's really annoying to read is my take. So
yeah, it's kind of like classic high school romance in that people break up and get back together every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, yeah, that's a lot in a short span of time. Like, you guys gotta get it together here. Maybe spend some time apart. And maybe that's what they're doing.
And to be fair, their time apart is over the course of 9 months, so it's actually not even that long apart. But also, like...
It's pretty turbulent. I mean, considering the extreme circumstances of their lives, I get it. But like at the same time, this is not an easy or healthy relationship because they're not in healthy circumstances in general.
And they're kids. They're young kids.
Yeah. And so like the whole next issue 78, is about the breakup. And it's centered on MJ, which is cool. I like this issue because it's a very character-focused, smaller epilogue to the story.
Yeah.
It focuses on MJ kind of like picking up the pieces after Peter dumps her and getting it back together.
And spoilers, getting a rebound.
Yes. Well, the issue opens on this splash page of this bathroom stall, and it's really fun because there's a lot of graffiti on this stall with some fun Easter eggs and like little jokes here. One of them just says, there's a good reason he's called Flash, talking about Flash Thompson, the school bully, and you're like, yikes. That's actually canonically in 616, the secret reason Eugene Flash Thompson is called Flash Thompson. Is because, he was a little too fast.
In bed or in like sports?
Oh, and for his first time, it's like a panel in an issue years later. I think it was like an issue during the Brand New Day era, but he's sitting in the back of a car with this girl and she's like comforting him and he's like, it's okay. It was good, really. It wasn't that fast. And so but he doesn't let anyone else know that. We as the readers are like the only ones who know that.
Wait, but that makes no sense because everyone calls him Flash.
Yeah, I think like he uses the excuse that like, oh yeah, it's because he's really fast on the football team or something.
Wait, so she went around calling him Flash. Is that what it is? Because if she doesn't tell anyone, no one would know he's fast in anything.
Maybe someone else found out and then he like covered it up. I don't know, but it's hilarious.
Well, I do not understand that problem. Wink.
Anyways, TMI, Josh. But yeah, then it also says on the stall Bendis rocks, which is really funny. Brian Michael Bendis, the writer for Ultimate Spider-Man.
He does little stuff about that. He does little stuff like that every once in a while, I feel, in these comics.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
But obviously MJ is the one in the stall and she's hiding and Liz comes in and checks on MJ. It's a very dialogue heavy issue, which Bendis is great at. And MJ's like insisting that she's fine. And Liz is like, well, the teacher sent me to get you because you've been here for hours. And then she's like, is this about Peter? And as soon as Peter's mentioned, like MJ is like sobbing in the stall.
Yeah.
So she is very clearly not okay.
Yeah.
And then in class, the teacher is at his wit's end. And I love this scene because he's like, you guys couldn't even watch a DVD. Your homework was to watch a DVD, and none of you did it. What were you all doing? It's so funny seeing over the course of the series the teacher getting progressively more done with his class. Then comes this really funny scene where Peter just storms out. And the teacher's like, hey, where are you going? And Peter's like, what are you going to do? I could teach this class. Everyone laughs. This is a very angry, edgy move on Peter's part. And I think it's really just because of everything he's going through after the whole Hobgoblin story arc, after his breakup again with MJ. He's in a really bad state. So you got to give him some grace for that. But yeah, this is him being a little shit. But the whole class laughs and thinks it's hilarious. But MJ knows he's actually fucked up in the head.
Yeah. It's really funny because various people try to cheer MJ up, and they kind of also go like, hey, like, what's the appeal of this Peter? Like, you're like a 9, he's like a 3.
Yeah, throughout the issue, everyone's like, what's so great about Peter Parker anyways? Like, what's so special about him? Yeah. And the whole thing is like MJ is the only one who can see because she's the only one who knows him inside and out. She knows the Peter Parker side of him. She knows the Spider-Man side of him. She knows him better than anyone else. So of course she understands what's so special about him. But on the surface, the Peter and MJ relationship is like, what does she see in him? This scrawny little nerdy guy?
There's ugly representation in comics.
Again, I don't think he's ugly.
Why are we against ugly characters is my take.
I'm not against it. I mean, like, not everyone has to be like a trap, but like the fact of the matter is Peter is not ugly.
I wish he was ugly. I think he's ugly, and because I see myself as ugly. So, we need more ugly representation.
You're one of like the many Spider-Man fans that see him as like their self-insert,
because we see ourselves in Peter. Like, we see ourselves as like the underdog in different circumstances, whether you're like a minority or like a nerd or like skinny or like little. You see and have bad luck. You see yourself in Peter, so you can't help but put yourself in his shoes because he is in your shoes. Exactly.
That's fair. I think there is like something good about Spider-Man. I mean, my favorite thing about Spider-Man is that it's the whole idea that he's the hero that could be you. Yeah. And I like that he can resonate with so many people out there. I think that's why he's so popular, is he's like the everyman kind of hero.
Stan Lee has also said that like, unlike Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman or Captain America, the thing with Peter Parker, with Spider-Man specifically, is that he's covered head to toe. So you could be Spider-Man is his idea. Though he said that was by accident. But he's glad he made that mistake.
And that was Steve Ditko designing the costume anyways. So that was really... Stan Lee, of course, is taking the credit for that. We have to give credit where credit's due with Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. The two of them together made him the character that he is today and made him that endearing, relatable character. But I also just think when it gets kind of dangerous when fans start projecting themselves onto Peter. And that's what I take issue with, like, currently, like, in the current Spider-Man fan base, is so many people being, anytime anything bad happens to Spider-Man, anytime anything happens, they all project themselves onto Peter. And I'm like they take offense at the slightest thing.
You do that.
To an extent. I'm kind of guilty of that.
We had an entire episode. We brought in, like, a judge about it. Just saying.
Well, yes. Listen to our Paul episode, everyone.
I think you should call the Paul so, but okay.
No. I take issue with Paul, but also I'm not saying that nothing bad should ever happen to Spider-Man. I'm just saying all the time, it's kind of exhausting. Anyways, but yeah, Liz is with MJ at the mall and she's trying to cheer her up, but MJ doesn't want to be there, especially because she already works there anyways. She points out, she's like, I got homework. I already work here. Why would I want to be here when I'm not working? I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't want to be at my place of work when I'm off the clock either.
Yeah, and Flash comes up, and in case you guys thought I was making a derogatory thing by doing the numbers thing, Flash is the one who says, like, your luck is 7, probably an 8.5, change your look a bit. Yeah. Peter's like a 3. And so
Flash is doing a really bad job trying to cheer her up.
Yeah, because he's a jerk.
Yeah, he is a jerk. Like, he's trying, but even then, it's rough.
Yeah.
Flash is also like, all right, well, there's a guy right across the room, this senior guy who likes you and wanted me to go over and talk to you for him. And Flash is like trying to set them up. And his name is Mark Raxton, the other guy, who in the main universe is the Molten Man. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, oh, okay, cool Easter egg. Like, I don't know if anything will come of it. I don't remember, but like, damn, all right.
We
Mark
get
Raxton's into
for
her.
Spider-Man age characters, we get a lot of their teenage versions in Ultimate. Like we get Jessica Jones. I forget if we've seen her yet, but Jessica
Yeah.
Jones is here in the high school.
Yeah, it's also retconned later in the main universe that Jessica Jones went to high school with Spider-Man
Yeah, and he
in
had a
the main
chance,
universe.
and she had a crush on Peter for some reason.
And he had no idea who she was.
Yeah, no idea who she was, but yeah, especially because I feel in 616 Peter is like objectively like because like when you see them in the 2000s meeting high school era Jessica Jones, he still looks like the Peter Parker from like the 60s with the
Yeah.
big thick round glasses and the waistcoat.
Yeah, and the sweater vest, yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, eventually Mark Raxton, he comes over and apologizes to MJ and tells Flash to like get out of there. And he's like, sorry, it was a stupid idea. I shouldn't have had him go over to talk to you.
he wanted to impress me by getting you for me.
Yeah. But Mark also reveals he's in a punk band, which is a very early 2000s thing for him to be doing as a teenager. And while they're all talking, he's talking with MJ and Liz, and they're all getting to know him. And MJ, meanwhile, thinks she sees Peter in the distance. But what's really funny is it turns out she gets a closer look, and it's just a woman who has his haircut, which is hilarious.
Which maybe it's a sign because in the Spider-Gwen universe, whose MJ, as of my last check, is in 616, MJ is bisexual in the Spider-Gwen comics.
That's true. So
yeah, so
she
maybe
could be having her awakening.
she could be having an awakening, like you
She just
said.
doesn't realize it.
But also, I feel this Mark kid is like the definition of like 2000s era cool. He's a senior in high school. He's a athlete. He's a basketball player, I think. And
yeah,
he
he's
has
on
a
the
punk
basketball
band.
team, and he's got a punk band. Yeah. And he asks MJ and Liz if they want to come to his show tomorrow night, and Liz commits for both of them. Is like, yeah, we'll be there, and I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, I think that's like the classic 2000s era
Yeah,
female
best
friend
friend, like trying to like wing woman you and like push you into things, even if you're not really sure if you want to do it.
Especially because you just broke up with Peter.
Yeah, trying to get you back in the game after a breakup.
Yeah. Even though, though I feel like a lot of people are like that now. That's my take.
That's true, yeah. That's something that hasn't really changed that much.
Yeah.
It's a very rom-com trope.
Yeah. Oh, I love them rom-coms.
Yeah, I know you do. Me too, honestly.
I love them.
Yeah, me too. My girlfriend doesn't, which is really funny, but I do.
Really?
Yeah, she can't stand them.
I have like a love-hate relationship with Hallmark because I think it spreads bad messaging, and it's happened to me, so.
Hallmark movies are just hilariously stupid, and I love them. But
they're also weirdly like Jeffersonian and conservative because they're always about how awful the city is.
Yeah, it's like the big city girl going into a small town and meeting the small town boy that everyone loves and falling in love.
And like I always feel bad because like there's always a scene where like and she goes like, yeah, I have a boyfriend, but it's useless. I want this strong hunk of a cowboy. And I'm like, what about your other boyfriend? Like, yeah, you have the right to break up with him. And
but also, she usually has a boyfriend or fiance who's just like a dick, and it's like, why were you with this guy?
Or sometimes it's not even a dick; he's just useless, or she just chooses the cowboy, which has happened to me. I was from a big city. I lived with a partner in a big city, though we didn't live together, and then she dumped me for a Trump-supporting farmer.
Yeesh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're better off without her.
Yeah.
But then they go to the show the next night, and it's really funny because at this punk show, the band has a song where they're screaming about "You're my molten man." Like it's literally a song that I assume is called Molten Man because they keep screaming about Molten Man, which is a very funny Easter egg.
I really love it whenever like in an alternate universe, like a character has a band. Because in Spider-Gwen, and the reason I mentioned that is because for like 2 years, I was a world expert on Spider-Gwen because she wasn't in a lot of comics, and I read all the comics she was in. But MJ has a bad, I forgot what it's called, but they have a song called Face It Tiger.
Yeah, I think, they're just called the Mary Janes, right?
Yeah, I think they're called the Mary Janes, and their main song was Face It Tiger or something.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Then when MJ's at the show, she sees a guy dressed as Spider-Man there, which triggers her yet again, which sets her. And then what's really funny also is Kenny, or Kong is also at the concert, but he's really just there so he could drive Liz and MJ to the concert. It was because he had a car, which is really funny.
Kong is just like, I don't. It's just the minion. He's like, he just needs someone to minion after, which is funny
Yeah,
because he is even willing to like be a goon for Peter when
yeah,
Flash is not out of the picture. It's like, you bullied him. It's like, you just need someone to like, give you orders.
yeah. He just needs to follow someone and be subordinate to someone, whether it's Flash or Peter or Liz or MJ. Like, it doesn't matter.
His Smithers, his like smithering.
Yeah, he's just following people. He's a born follower.
It's like,
And then after the show, Mark approaches MJ and like offers her a ride home, and he's like, "Oh, just as friends, like, just a friend." And like, "Uh-huh, sure thing, man."
hey, I don't want to be that guy. Like, how does like a teenager get like a full stage? I don't care if you have a band. No, like teenage bands getting a full stage. I feel.
Yeah, I don't understand. It's kind of like how in Buffy the Vampire Slayer in like the late 90s, they would go to this club, the Bronze, and I'm like, what club is like letting high schoolers in?
Okay, so I'm from LA. I'm from a big city. There are clubs that let high schoolers in, but they're not allowed to serve alcohol.
Damn, all right. I should have grown up in LA is what you're telling me.
Why would you want to go to a club if it's not for the alcohol?
I don't know. I like dancing. I like music. I love socializing.
I hate dancing and music unless there's alcohol, in which case I love dancing and music.
Get you the liquid courage you need. Yeah.
It's not courage. It's more like a lack of inhibitions, I guess. I don't even dance. I like grunge
pretty
music.
much the same thing.
Yeah, I like grunge music. So
Nice.
there's not even a lot
Pearl
of dancing.
Jam.
You know, like when it's all moody and there's like the guy on the guitar with long hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like there's not even dancing when that happens. Just guys just standing around going, eh.
Yeah.
That's my impression of grunge fans, by the way.
That's fantastic. That's so good. That's
Thank
spot
you.
on. I
Thank
think
you,
that was
thank
Pearl
you.
Jam, right?
Yeah, I just been to a lot of grunge, not band concerts,
Clearly.
but like grunge things. And the only thing I remember, it's really hazy, and there's a bunch of guys with beanies going like just standing around.
That sounds about right. I've never even been to a grunge concert, and that sounds
You know
spot
what?
on.
I've been to grunge clubs.
Oh, cool. Dang.
Yeah.
I'll ask you more about that later because there's so much I need to know
About grunge or club?
about your experience there specifically. But yeah, then Mark is driving MJ home and they're sitting in the car together. And they get into this big, deep conversation about career goals. And Mark goes on about how he's like, yeah, I want to be like Will Eisner, the guy who pioneered the American comic book. And he goes on about why he was so important and how he did something no one's been done before. And I was like, this is a very weird, specific reference for a teen punk rocker to make. Like, this is very clearly like Bendis writing about how much he loves Will Eisner, which fair enough, makes sense. He's a legend in comics. He's like one of the most important names, if not the most important name in comics. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, this doesn't make sense for a teenage punk rocker.
It kind of reminds me of like when Stephen King goes like, and in part 2, the really cool guy, the main character who dates hot actresses and everyone loves him because he's nice, is a writer.
Yeah, I'm like,
and he was like, see this cool kid? He wants to be me, which means I'm cool too.
Yeah, like he looks up to Will Eisner, which means I'm a cool kid because I look up to Will Eisner.
I bet that kid looks up to me.
Yeah. It's like, someone will write down the line, like, the writer Brian Michael Bendis? He inspired me. I'm like, hey, fair enough, he inspired me too, but that's neither here nor there.
I also bet if you read that in the future, say, yeah, you know who my favorite writer is? Brian Michael Bendis. He revolutionized the way modern media and culture views comics, and you flip to the front page, it says by Brian Michael Bendis.
He revolutionized decompression in comics and Bendis speak.
I mean, that's Disney is basically every character in every franchise is doing Bendis speak, no?
I mean, that's fair. It's very close. It's very quippy, very fast.
Yeah.
And then MJ talks about her career goals, and she talks about how she did consider being an actor, but actually hates every movie she's ever seen and doesn't like any actors, and they're not really great role models, which is funny because the main universe MJ is an actress / model. So it's a fun little nod to that. But she's going in a different direction in Ultimate, and she says she actually wants to be a teacher. So it's pretty different.
I think it's this weird thing where, like, I feel the decision to have made MJ an actress in 616 was like they got to pigeonhole into like attractive women profession. And here Brian Michael Bendis say, well, if she is going to be an actress, she's going to be like one of those like character actresses that's kind of nerdy and that people like really respect. And
Yeah, there's a more different dimensions to her than just like I'm this like fun-loving, attractive actress. Not to say that main universe MJ is not multi-dimensional, because she's totally multi-dimensional, but she
Yeah.
didn't start out that way. And
Yeah.
then Mark and MJ have a moment and they end up kissing. And right
She
before the
moved on.
kiss, I mean, it's a rebound, really. Like, it's that, like, moment that you have where it's, like, kind of, you're feeling something for someone, and then you're, because, like, she pushes him away afterwards and is like, never mind.
And
She's still not over Peter. And he's like, oh, sorry.
I'm just saying she still moves on really relatively fast. Because I bet Peter's not doing this with anyone.
I mean, yeah, but, like, she had a moment. It kind of passed, like, pretty quickly. And Peter's probably not doing that because he's too busy being traumatized
Responsible.
over the goblin experience and feeling guilty and overthinking everything in his life and
Yeah.
sitting in his basement and like getting pissed off about something. I don't know.
But
Doing just Peter Parker things.
but I love this line where he goes like, "It's about Peter, right?" And he goes like, "What's so special about Peter?" And MJ just looks at him, smiles, and says everything, and it just ends.
Well, she first goes on this whole speech about how she needs to grow up and she needs to do better, and she still loves Peter even though he might hate her now, and she's gonna earn his friendship back, which is like kind of an unhealthy attitude to have, to like obsess over the person who just dumped you and to like obsess over like winning them back and blaming yourself constantly. Like, yeah, I get it. You made some mistakes, but you couldn't have known certain things when you made those mistakes. And like,
Yeah.
but yeah, he asks, what's so special about Peter Parker? And there's a big splash page at the end of her face. And she looks at him with this big smile and says, everything. Which is like, she is very much still head over heels, not over Peter.
Yeah.
Which is sweet in some ways. And in another way, I'm like, in real life, I'd be like, girl, you gotta move on. Like, you can't spend your whole life obsessing over this guy. I mean, I get,
Well, I mean, they just broke up, so
yeah, it's pretty fresh. So she still obviously hasn't moved on and is determined to win him back. But yeah, that's the end of this story arc, the end of this batch of issues. I thought, the whole Hobgoblin storyline definitely like steps it up again. If things couldn't get any more intense and if the stakes couldn't get any higher, if it couldn't get any more personal, here you go.
yeah.
Just when you thought it couldn't get any crazier, it does. And I feel like this last issue too is a good cap on it all. I love this. I always love a good coda issue at the end to kind of like give us space to breathe and decompress and just take in everything. And I love especially that it's from MJ's point of view and it's following her story and how she's reeling from this breakup and from this whole storyline and
Yeah.
like just her perspective on Peter and their relationship and where she is. But yeah, any other thoughts, Josh?
I like this. I have mixed feelings about this because I really like this breakup story, but I am tired of them breaking up and getting back together over and over.
Yeah.
But yeah, MJ moves on fast. But that being said, that's a big ego trip for Peter if he ever heard it when he asked like, "What's so special about you?" Someone goes, "Everything." That's really
Yeah, that
sweet
is
and
a big
kind.
ego trip.
That's like, but Peter doesn't hear that. But like, if someone tells me that hears me, if I hear that, I go like, "Hell yeah!"
Like, yeah, like I am awesome. Hell yeah. She
Hell
can't
yeah!
get over me.
Yeah.
You're goddamn right. She can't get over me. I'm the best.
That's there's a Buddhist story about two nuns are too into sex, but they see the Buddha's dead penis, and they can't get sexually aroused ever again because they can never get over the sight of the Buddha's penis. It's kind of like that. I feel.
Okay. I mean, I can't confirm or deny any of this. I don't know, but yeah, sounds cool. All right. Well, that wraps it up for these issues. Yeah, until next time, Josh, where can our listeners email us if they want to get in touch?
As always, on ultimatecomicspodcast@gmail.com. That's comics plural, podcast singular, so ultimatecomicspodcast@gmail.com.
That's right. Email us with your thoughts about the issues we read, about Ultimate Marvel, about comics in general, about your thoughts on the podcast. We may read it on the podcast if we get mail. And but if that's too old school for you, we also have social media. So we've got Ultimate Comics Podcast is our handle at Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. We've got reels, we've got TikToks, we've got images that we post on Instagram from the comics that we read on the podcast. And of course, we have full episodes with video on YouTube. So please follow us on social media. And thank you again to everyone who's already following us. We love you guys. And yeah, we're looking forward to you guys all hearing this episode.
We appreciate you.
Thanks. Thanks, Josh. I love that.
I was talking to our fans, but you too, man.
Thank you. Thank you. I needed to hear that.
Because you know what's special about you? Everything.
You got me.
I know. That's a great line, though.
It's classic. It's a one size fits all.
Yeah.
But until next time, everyone, take care and make mine ultimate marvel. Bye bye.